Next, we have Col Sandeep Sharma, the Associate Vice President, Prestige Group, India, who provides insights into achieving green building targets in commercial and residential landscape with special reference to net zero energy and net zero water. Being a class 1 gazetted officer from the Indian Army and a practitioner for work ethics and values in corporate ecosystem for 13 years, working through GE Healthcare, Goldman Sachs, and Prestige Group, Colonel Sharma is passionate about sustainable development with an aim of sustainable businesses working in sync and driving values for SDGs. Currently working as the Associate Vice President in the group for spearheading the asset management of commercial and residential landscape in South India, especially Bangalore. We'd love to hear your insights. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Sagarika Sahu ma'am. It is really a pleasure that I am continuing my support and the rigor through GCPIT for the second year in succession, and welcome you also part of the fold with GCPIT. And thank you for giving me a short and very concise journey of my corporate career before I took premature retirement from Army. And yes, I could proudly say that what I have learned, those skill set and ethical practices during my service career, I am narrating and driving into actionable information and engagement on ground with my end customers. To begin with, I'll start with a small quote is that time for bold and transformative action is now. We all need to start taking actions at all our places because we are still slightly behind what we have promised as sustainable goals for all 17 goals for GDP 2030. And that can only be exercised by each and every one of us. We are all sitting far and wide at various corners of this universe, which we use, and we will have to make a pledge to make it more sustainable, more livable for our generations to come. And to begin with, I would like to add a few lines from G20 summit, which is presently ongoing in Bali as we take over the presidency from Indonesia. And I, as a citizen of the country, is committed with the initiatives which we are going to bring change in our India-Pacific entire region, as well as supporting the various initiatives through our real estate conclaves, real estate seminars, as well as real estate dialogues, which happens on monthly, quarterly, and some of them are on half-yearly basis. So now we quickly move on to the landscape. And landscape is generally that surge in population, which is moving from villages or tier 2 or tier 3 cities into urban landscape. And as we all know that year on year, that urban landscape is getting denser and denser year by year, right? And as the data speaks for itself, we are touching almost 35% of Indian population, which is cohabiting with in urban landscape. China is touching around 65%. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Please continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So most of the European countries are 80 and above, and US also is 83%. So keeping that in mind, most of our populations are cohabiting in our urban landscape. It is our moral duty to sustain this urban landscape through our commercial, residential, retail, and hospitality to make it more sustainable for all of us and make it a sustainable habit. And this we can do by converting our buildings into net zero energy and net zero water in terms of savings to our planet. Just in general, I would touch upon, we have got a handful of buildings which are zero energy buildings in India. To begin with, as I would say, it is only a single digit 2-3 years back. We are touching into 12 or 15. In between that, we are ranging. So we all need to work towards that. And as Mr. Mazi, I like that script of Mr. Mazi because he has got a top-down approach for sustainable financing. And I'm sure going forward, investors will take a note on definite sustainable practices by the various developers across the globe as well as in Indian subcontinent, right? Now, quickly, I'll move on to commercial landscape, first of all, because the main upsurge of the population into urban land is that business or a job or a bread earner for the family is basically they are moving for a particular, entitlements or for their growth in their life is working out of a commercial landscape where various our clients or multinational companies, Indian companies have got offices. So through developers' standpoint, we have got a definite understanding and focused approach towards engaging our customers for sustainability. And that year on year, month on month, we do by engaging them and guiding them about sustaining the buildings by consumption of water, save energy and save power, sustainability pledge with clients on a monthly rhythm that gives a sort of sustainability pledge. It's a new initiative which we have started because we have over the years were cognizant about safety and security. As my understanding goes, for us, sustainability is priority number one for all of us. Safety, yes, of course, we have to be safe and sound, but sustainability is a way forward. So keeping that in mind, we have got a focused approach towards sustainability pledge with our service providers on a daily rhythm because they are part of service which we are giving to our end customers on day in, day out, right? And last but not the least, for commercial landscape, the importance of vendor partners cannot be ruled out because these vendor partners through supply chain or to our various services which they provide through our multiple MEP or affiliated aspects to our buildings are also very important. And we have included these sustainability aspects with their reformulated KPIs, KPI data, KPI infrastructure that has been reformulated to accompany those sustainable goals, and our expectations with our vendor partners have been enhanced, and to a realistic sustainability aspects have been covered in those KPIs. So engagement with compliance and statutory bodies for the initiatives at commercial buildings are also there from us, and we are doing that part by proactively reaching out to the government bodies in South India with other developers with us alongside, and we have got a referendum given to the government departments that what compliances, what statutory rulings which we are following on ground, and new initiatives which we have taken on ground to make our parks, our commercial landscape more sustainable, as well as proactively more visible for impact rather than only greenwashing. What I would say is greenwashing, what I meant is only conveying on paper, but outcome is not there. So more practically, it has to be more seen into actions, what we do on ground for commercial landscape. Now, quickly, I move on to residential part of it. We have got plenty of residential aspects where we construct on regular basis. So there as well, as a service providers, we provide the participation alongside with ladies, children, and elders in these residential complexes. We give the knowledge transfer, how to do the sustaining model of these residential landscape by doing recycling, sustaining and conserving water, and replenishing those rainwater harvesting. These practices we do constantly along with our end customers. And in addition to that, we carry out monthly awareness programs with reference to initiatives through games and various curricular activities, which generates interest amongst who are there in our residential complexes, right? And thirdly, about retail as well as hospitality segment. Retail, we have got daily customers which move into our retail malls and hospitality for hotels. There as well, we have got full control on the sustainability aspects by regular control in the usage of water, awareness given to those service providers who are part of our service teams in these landscapes. And we have got measured goals year on year as far as sustaining and saving water is concerned. And we acknowledge these front-end warriors who carry out and execute those results on ground. Right now, quickly I move on to the ESG part of it. That is very, very close to my thought process, and I have started focusing my energy and time onto this environment, social and governance part of it by acquiring new skill set in terms of ESG goals and objectives. And I'm doing a few training programs, and aim of doing this training program is to ultimately drill down the knowledge transfer into my teams and my partners across peers, which includes junior as well as seniors, into my system, right? And so by doing this, I am confident that going forward, we will be more realistic in our approach towards the sustainable development and attaining those ESG goals in particular, right? And by doing this, what I meant is that we will curtain the problems for business continuity, because it has got direct relevance for business continuity for our operations, because interruptions, as we see on ground, are basically of two types. One is emergent and one is non-emergent. Emergents are those interruptions like natural disasters in terms of flooding, which I'm sure most of you have heard about flooding 2 months back in Bangalore, fire, civil unrest are examples of emergent interruptions, and few are non-emergent interruptions like supply shortages, supply stoppages, and commerce interruptions or loss of electric power and like that. So what I meant by taking these examples is that it has got direct relevance on our continuity of operations. So by focusing on sustainable development, we have the uninterrupted continuity in our operations, and there cannot be any business loss. And this has got a direct impact, is coming now on ground on our management as well as who's of the industry, and it is more participative for keeping that aspect in mind consciously and absolutely for the right way forward for sustainability. Last but not the least, I will be touching upon the green buildings, which we are focusing on. And going forward, we as a group and other partners are cognizant about the architect part of it and the various aspects which are required to be there for a green building in our commercial landscape and it has got few parameters which I'll just touch upon. There are major ones are about 7 and first and foremost is we use aluminum weather resistant insulated access panels. These are sustainable. Next is energy efficient windows and we have got direct vendor partners who support in this. So that part is also taken care for energy sustainability. We have next aspect is green roof and we are cognizant about providing the green roof for the way forward in our next and going on buildings. Solar power, yes, we are working with multiple market players who are in support of solar power. We are having that knowledge downloads through our solar institutes and government bodies, and we are working with them consciously to get this aspect also adequately covered for our green buildings. Next is water conservation. As I have said earlier, that water conservation is very, very pertinent aspect, and we just can't waste water just like that. So keeping that in mind, there are various measures which we keep in place in terms of using the rainwater harvesting and recycling the water at the various commercial spaces. Recycling of the waste, we do that and we give the ultimately those waste products to government registered vendor partners who have got all streamlined processes for recycling and bringing that back to utilize into various aspects of the business. Landscaping, yes, last but not the least, is also an important aspect for all of us to understand. That will give a very viable and interesting part in a place where people are working, they are healthy. Indoor air quality will also make a lot of difference when people are working and coming to workplace. And yes, by doing this, we are doing our bit in keeping our buildings green. And way forward is yes, a definite yes, through our management and board of directors. We have taken an affirmation. Yes, going forward, we will support that sustainable development goals for COP 27, as well as the Paris Agreement, which our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, has given. Those directives are also been taken into cognizant, and we will be doing that in the years to come. So that in nutshell, I thought let me share these aspects quickly, and we are dedicatedly doing that, and it is percolated down to the last person of the company, as well as wherever our footprints are there. We make a constant endeavor to make people understand that sustainability is the key to our livelihood. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Colonel Sharma. We really appreciate your inputs and insights.
Thank you so much.
I